The great station hung in space like a metal moon above Centauri Prime. Inside its massive halls, creatures from across the galaxy gathered around a circular table made of black stone. The air smelled of different worlds, the sulfur breath of the Zolonians, the sweet scent of the Thrim delegates, and the metallic tang that followed the Corvan representatives wherever they went. Admiral Kethvar stood at the head of the table. His blue skin showed the battle scars of 100 campaigns, and his forearms moved with practiced authority as he activated the holographic display. The image that appeared made several delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. "The humans," Kethvar said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. 200 years ago they were nothing. Primitives who had barely left their homeworld. Now look at this. The hologram showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies, spreading like a disease across space that had belonged to the hegemony for 1,000,000 years. 47 worlds, 47 insults to the natural order. Ambassador Yilthara of the Thrim Collective leaned forward. Her insect-like features twitched with concern. They reproduce faster than any species we have encountered. Each world they take feeds their expansion to 2 more worlds. It's not just their breeding, interrupted Commander Zector from his position near the wall. The massive Corvan stone-like skin scraped against his chair as he moved. Our intelligence shows they adapt too quickly. They study our technology and make it better within months. Fleet Commander Yulthes laughed, a sound like breaking glass. The ancient being's energy form flickered inside its containment suit. You speak as if these creatures pose a real threat. They have existed for less than a blink of an eye compared to our civilizations. We have destroyed species far more advanced than these humans. Kethvar nodded and changed the display. Images of dead worlds filled the space above the table. Burned planets, shattered moons, entire star systems turned to cosmic dust. The Corvani thought their crystal ships were unbeatable, Kethvar said. We proved them wrong in 6 days. The Thurn believed their trade networks made them untouchable. We cut those networks apart in less than a month. Every species that has challenged the hegemony has learned the same lesson. The Corvani delegate's stone face showed no emotion, but his voice carried pain. My people remember those lessons, Admiral. We chose to serve rather than die, as did we all, and whispered Ambassador Yilthara. The hegemony's mercy is well known to those who accept their place. Kethvar gestured again, and the display showed human ships. They looked crude compared to the elegant vessels of the hegemony, all angles and thick armor, with weapons that seemed bolted on as an afterthought. Look at their technology, Kethvar continued. Chemical rockets and metal bullets. They still use fusion power when we mastered antimatter eons ago. Their ships can barely reach half the speed of light. They are insects pretending to be dragons. High Counselor Varneth finally spoke from the shadows where he always sat. The ancient being's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Yet these insects have made contact with 17 minor species in the past 50 years. Our vassals report strange meetings, secret agreements. The humans offer what we do not, partnership instead of servitude. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The word partnership was not one the hegemony used often. The Gaki mining colonies have reduced their tribute shipments, reported another delegate. They claim equipment failures, but our spies report human engineers working in their facilities. The Velen asteroid belt has gone completely silent, added a third voice. No response to our communications for 6 months. Kethvar slammed one of his 4 fists on the table. This ends now. The humans have had their time to play at being a galactic power. We will remind them of their place in the natural order. Fleet Commander Yulthes's energy form brightened with excitement. The 3rd pacification fleet stands ready. 847 ships from 6 member species. We can have them at the human homeworld within a month. No, Kethvar said firmly. We do not attack their homeworld first. That would make them martyrs to the minor species. We choose one of their newer colonies. We make an example that cannot be misunderstood. The display changed again, showing a human world on the edge of their territory. Green continents spotted with silver cities, orbital stations glittering like jewelry around the planet. New Geneva, Kethvar announced, one of their largest colonies. 3 million humans, significant military presence, but nothing that can stand against the 3rd Fleet. We destroy everything. No survivors. No negotiations. No mercy. High Counselor Varneth leaned forward slightly. The other species will learn that friendship with humans leads only to death. Exactly, Kethvar confirmed. When we are finished with New Geneva, we will move to the next human world, then the next. We will not stop until every human is dead or in chains. The galaxy will remember why the hegemony has ruled for 1,000,000 years. The delegates began to murmur among themselves. Some seemed excited by the prospect of another easy victory. Others appeared more cautious, remembering their own species' defeats at the hands of the hegemony. Ambassador Yilthara raised one of her 4 arms. What if the humans attempt to negotiate? Some species have prolonged their existence by offering complete surrender. We will not give them that option, Kethvar replied coldly. The time for negotiations ended when they began stealing our vassals. They chose their path when they decided to challenge the natural order. Fleet Commander Yulthes pulsed brighter. My ships are already moving into position. The humans will have no warning, no time to prepare. We strike in 2 weeks. Remember, High Counselor Varnath said as the meeting began to break up. This is not merely about destroying one species. This is about maintaining the fear that keeps 1,000,000 worlds in line. Every species in the galaxy must understand that the hegemony's patience has limits. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, each returning to their ships to spread word of the coming destruction, Kethvar remained behind. He stared at the image of New Geneva floating above the table. He had overseen the destruction of 14 species during his long career. Each time the pattern was the same. First came denial. The target species refused to believe the hegemony would actually destroy them. Then came desperate attempts at negotiation, offers of tribute and surrender. Finally came acceptance, usually too late to save anyone. The humans would follow the same pattern. They always did. Kethvar turned off the display and walked toward his personal transport. In 2 weeks, the 3rd pacification fleet would arrive at New Geneva. In 3 weeks, the human problem would begin to solve itself. In a month, the galaxy would remember why no one challenged the hegemony. He had no way of knowing that in the depths of space, human listening posts had already detected the movement of hegemony ships. The humans were not following the pattern. They were not denying or negotiating. They were preparing for war. The 3rd pacification fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Geneva system, like a storm made of metal and energy. 847 ships spread across space in perfect formation, their weapons already charging for the attack that would end human presence in this sector. Fleet Commander Yulthes stood in the command center of the flagship Eternal Dominion. His energy form flickered with satisfaction as he watched the tactical display. The human colony lay helpless before him, just as every other target had for the past 1,000 years. Signal all ships, Yulthes ordered. Standard intimidation formation. I want every human on that planet to see their death approaching. The alien fleet moved into attack position with mechanical precision. Massive Zolonian dreadnoughts took the front lines, their blue hulls bristling with plasma cannons. Corvin heavy cruisers formed the second wave, their stone-like armor designed to absorb any desperate counterattack. Thrim-fast attack ships buzzed around the formation like angry insects, ready to chase down any fleeing vessels. Sir, reported Navigation Officer Keltan, we are detecting human ships moving to intercept us. Yulthes examined the display with amusement. 53 human vessels approached the alien fleet. They looked even more primitive up close. Crude metal boxes studded with simple weapons. No elegant curves, no advanced energy shielding, no antimatter drives. Just basic technology held together by determination. Pathetic, Yulthes muttered. Open a communication channel to the planet. Let us finish this quickly. The main screen filled with the image of a human military commander. The creature looked exactly as intelligence reports had described. Bipedal, pink skin, small eyes, no natural weapons. It was hard to believe such a weak species had caused any concern at all. I am Fleet Commander Yulthes of the Galactic Hegemony, he announced. You stand accused of violating the natural order of the galaxy. Your species has grown beyond its proper place. You have corrupted our vassal species with ideas of independence and equality. The human commander listened without expression. When Yulthes paused, the creature spoke in a surprisingly calm voice. We know who you are. We know why you're here. We're ready. Yulthes felt a moment of confusion. Where were the desperate pleas for mercy? The offers of tribute? The attempts at negotiation? This human spoke as if it actually believed it could fight the 3rd pacification fleet. You misunderstand your situation, Yulthus continued. This fleet has destroyed entire civilizations. We offer you one chance at survival. Surrender unconditionally. Submit to hegemony rule. Accept your place as vassals. The human commander shook its head slowly. No? Then you choose death, Yulthus declared. Your species will serve as an example to any others who might consider defying us. You have 1 hour to evacuate your civilians before we begin the cleansing. The human's expression did not change. 1 hour? That's very generous. We only need 30 minutes. The communication ended, leaving Yulthus staring at an empty screen. In all his centuries of conducting pacification operations, no species had ever responded with such confidence. The human had spoken as if the Third Fleet was the one in danger. Sir, called Tactical Officer Gendar, the human ships are approaching at maximum velocity. They appear to be preparing for ramming attacks. Yulthus laughed, a sound like electromagnetic static. Ramming attacks? With ships that slow? Activate energy shields. Their primitive vessels will shatter against our defenses like waves against stone. The human fleet spread into a wide formation as it approached. Their ships moved with surprising coordination, each vessel following a precise flight path that brought them into range of the alien weapons. All ships, open fire, Yulthus ordered. Destroy them quickly so we can proceed with the main operation. The space between the two fleets lit up with deadly energy. Plasma bolts and particle beams reached out from the hegemony ships, striking the approaching human vessels. The first few hits confirmed what everyone expected. The human ships had no energy shields, no advanced armor, no way to defend against superior technology. But something was wrong. The human ships that took direct hits did not explode as expected. Instead, they absorbed the damage and kept coming. Holes appeared in their hulls. Sections of armor peeled away, but the vessels continued their approach without slowing down. Impossible, whispered Tactical Officer Gendar. Those ships should be disabled. How are they still functioning? Yulthus studied the sensor readings with growing concern. The human vessels were taking damage that should have destroyed them completely, yet they showed no signs of stopping. More disturbing, they were accelerating beyond what their engines should have been capable of. Sir, reported the navigation officer, the human ships are reaching velocities that should kill their crews. The acceleration forces alone would crush any living being. The first human ship reached the alien formation and struck a Corvin heavy cruiser. The impact sent shock waves through both vessels, but instead of bouncing off the alien ship's armor, the human vessel kept going. It tore through the cruiser's hull like a knife through cloth, emerging from the other side before exploding in a brilliant flash. The Corvin ship broke apart, its massive bulk tumbling through space in burning pieces. What kind of weapons was that ship carrying? Yulthus demanded. None, sir, came the stunned reply. It was just moving very fast. More human ships reached the alien formation. Each one struck with devastating force, their momentum carrying them through enemy vessels that should have been able to stop them easily. The humans were using their own ships as weapons, turning velocity into destruction. Evasive maneuvers, Yulthus ordered. All ships scatter formation. But the human vessels seemed to anticipate every move the alien ships made. They adjusted their courses with impossible precision, striking targets that thought they were safely out of range. Ship after ship from the Third Fleet found itself facing a human vessel accelerating at lethal speed toward its hull. Sir, called the communications officer, we're intercepting human transmissions. They're coordinating their attacks with inhuman precision. Yulthus watched in growing horror as his fleet began to come apart. The humans were not fighting like any species he had ever encountered. They showed no concern for their own survival, no attempt to preserve their ships or crews. They fought with the single-minded purpose of destroying the enemy, regardless of cost. A Thrym-fast attack ship exploded as a human vessel half its size punched through its center. A Zilonian dreadnought listed helplessly as 3 human ships struck it in sequence, each impact weakening its structure until the mighty vessel broke apart. All ships, fall back to defensive positions, Yulthus commanded. Reform the line. Concentrate fire on the remaining human vessels. But there was no line to reform. The human attack had scattered the Third Fleet across the system. Alien ships found themselves isolated, facing human vessels that moved like guided missiles and hit like antimatter bombs. The battle that was supposed to last minutes stretched into an hour, then 2 hours. The third pacification fleet, which had never failed to destroy its targets, was being systematically torn apart by an enemy that should not have been able to hurt them. Yulthes watched his tactical display with growing desperation. Red indicators showed ship after ship going dark. The humans were winning not through superior technology, but through superior will. They had turned their own weakness into strength, their mortality into a weapon. "Sir," whispered the navigation officer, "should we signal for reinforcements?" Yulthes stared at the display for a long moment. In 6 hours, the third pacification fleet had lost nearly 200 ships to an enemy they had expected to crush in minutes. The humans were still coming, still fighting, still dying to take down hegemony vessels. For the first time in his long life, Fleet Commander Yulthes began to understand that the hegemony had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Kethvar received the emergency transmission from the Third Fleet, 12 hours after the battle had begun. What he heard made his blood run cold. "This is Fleet Commander Yulthes," the message crackled with static and interference. "The humans are not what we expected. Repeat, the humans are not what we expected. They have turned their ships into weapons. They are using ramming attacks at near light speed. We have lost 327 vessels." Kethvar stared at the communication console in disbelief. 327 ships? The entire Corvani pacification had cost them only 12 vessels. The Thurn operation had resulted in 8 losses. How could primitive humans destroy so many advanced warships? "Sir," his aide reported quietly, "we're receiving additional data from the Third Fleet. Intelligence intercepts from the human communications network." The holographic display filled with captured human transmissions. Kethvar listened with growing horror as he began to understand what the hegemony was truly fighting. "Volunteer Ship 77, this is command," came a human voice. "Your trajectory will take you through the enemy dreadnought's weak point. Impact in 30 seconds. "Confirmed, command," replied another human voice, calm and steady. "It has been an honor serving with you all. Tell my family I chose this." The transmission ended in static. Kethvar watched the tactical display as a small dot representing the human ship struck a much larger alien vessel. Both disappeared from the screen. "They are volunteers," Kethvar whispered. "They choose to die." More intercepted communications filled the air. Human after human accepted suicide missions with the same calm determination. They spoke of honor, duty, and the protection of their species, but none of them begged for alternative orders. None of them asked to be saved. "This is Captain Martinez of the Defiant," came another transmission. "We've lost main engines and life support. Beginning final approach on the enemy command ship. If anyone hears this, remember that we did this by choice. Earth must survive." Kethvar's aide pulled up additional intelligence reports. "Sir, our analysis teams have been studying the human battle doctrine. It appears they have been preparing for this confrontation for decades." The display showed human space as it truly was. Not a collection of peaceful colonies, but a massive military network. Every civilian ship could be converted to a weapon within hours. Every space station contained hidden armor and weapons. Every asteroid belt had been mined with explosives that could be triggered remotely. They knew we were coming, Kethvar realized. All of this was planned. "Yes, sir," his aide confirmed. "Intelligence believes the humans have been studying hegemony military tactics since their first contact with galactic civilization. They know our standard formations, our preferred strategies, our technological advantages. They designed their entire military around countering our strengths." Another transmission from the Third Fleet interrupted the briefing. This time it was a different commander, his voice tight with fear. "This is Captain Vortok of the Striking Claw. The humans have deployed new weapons. They appear to be artificial intelligence systems that learn from our tactics in real time. Our jamming systems have no effect. Request immediate reinforcement or permission to withdraw." Kethvar felt the first real fear he had experienced in centuries. AI weapons were banned by galactic law for good reason. They were too dangerous, too unpredictable. Only the most desperate species would risk using such technology. "Sir," his aide continued, "there's more. The humans appear to have been modifying their own biology for combat operations." The display showed medical scans captured from destroyed human ships. Kethvar studied them with growing disbelief. The humans had altered their own bodies to survive in space for longer periods. They had modified their nervous systems to react faster under extreme stress. Most disturbing of all, they had changed their brain chemistry to reduce their natural survival instincts. They have weaponized their own evolution, Kethvar said slowly. They have turned themselves into living weapons. A new transmission arrived from the battlefield. This time it was Fleet Commander Yulthes himself, but his voice had changed. The confidence was gone, replaced by something Kethvar had never heard from a hegemony commander before. Desperation. Admiral Kethvar, the situation has deteriorated beyond recovery. The humans are not simply fighting us. They are studying us. Every ship they destroy, they salvage. Every weapon we use, they analyze and counter. They are learning faster than we can adapt. The transmission continued with detailed reports that painted a nightmare picture. Human ships were incorporating alien technology within hours of capturing it. Their weapons were evolving in real time, becoming more effective with each engagement. Most terrifying of all, they seemed to anticipate hegemony tactics before they were implemented. How is that possible? Kethvar demanded of his aide. We believe they have infiltrated our command structure, sir, possibly for years. They may know our military protocols better than we do. Kethvar sank into his command chair as the full scope of the disaster became clear. The humans had not simply defended themselves against an overwhelming attack. They had turned the attack into an opportunity to study, learn, and grow stronger. Another transmission arrived, this one visual. The screen showed a human ship approaching a damaged hegemony vessel. Instead of destroying it, the human ship attached itself to the alien hull. Through the static, Kethvar could see human figures in spacesuits boarding the enemy vessel. They are taking prisoners, he whispered. They are capturing our technology intact, the aide nodded grimly. Intelligence estimates that the humans have captured representatives from all 6 species in the 3rd Fleet. They now have access to our complete technological database. Final transmission from Fleet Commander Yulthes arrived, weaker than the others and filled with static. Admiral, this is my final report. The 3rd Pacification Fleet has been effectively destroyed. Less than 50 ships remain functional, and we are completely surrounded. The humans are jamming our faster-than-light communications. They are jamming our escape routes. I do not believe any of us will return home. The transmission paused, filled with the sound of explosions and alarm signals. Admiral, Yulthes continued, the humans are not like other species we have faced. They do not fight to minimize casualties or achieve limited objectives. They fight to win completely, regardless of cost. They have turned their entire civilization into a weapon pointed at anyone who threatens them. Another pause. Longer this time. Sir, I must recommend immediate withdrawal of all hegemony forces from human space. Do not attempt another pacification operation. Do not attempt negotiations. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that pose a direct threat to the hegemony itself. They must be contained at all costs, or they will... The transmission ended in a burst of static that suggested the flagship itself had been destroyed. Kethvar sat in silence for several minutes, processing what he had heard. The 3rd Pacification Fleet, 847 ships representing the combined military, might of 6 species, had been completely destroyed by a force they had expected to crush within hours, sir, his aide said quietly. What are your orders? Kethvar looked at the star chart showing human space. Those red dots representing human colonies no longer looked like targets to be eliminated. They looked like military bases belonging to a species that had just proven it could destroy any force sent against it. Send a message to the Hegemony Council, Kethvar said finally. Tell them we need to discuss new strategies for dealing with the human situation. He paused, then added quietly, and send a message to all our border fleets. They are to avoid human space until further notice. For the first time in a million years, the galactic hegemony was retreating from an enemy it could not defeat. 6 months passed without any word from the 3rd Pacification Fleet. The galactic hegemony's intelligence networks remained silent about the fate of 847 warships and their crews. Admiral Kethvar had begun to hope that the humans had simply disappeared back to their isolated corner of space. Satisfied with their defensive victory, that hope died when the message arrived. The transmission came through official diplomatic channels, addressed to the Hegemony Council and marked with the highest priority codes. The source was listed as the Human Diplomatic Corps, Earth Sol System. The very existence of such an organization surprised the alien leadership. They had not expected any humans to survive the 3rd Fleet's assault. High Counselor. Varnath gathered the full council in the same chamber where they had planned the humans' destruction. The circular table once again hosted representatives from 12 major species, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Where confidence had once filled the room, now there was uncertainty and fear. "Play the transmission," Varnath ordered. The holographic display activated, showing a human figure in formal clothing. The creature appeared calm and well-informed, not at all like a survivor of a devastating military defeat. When it spoke, its words carried perfect pronunciation in multiple alien languages. "Greetings to the Galactic Hegemony Council," the human began in flawless Zilonian. "I am Ambassador Sarah Chen of the Human Diplomatic Corps. I hope this message finds you in good health and reflecting on recent events." The human paused, then continued in perfect Corvan. "6 months ago, you sent the 3rd Pacification Fleet to our colony of New Geneva. We want you to know that your forces fought with great courage and skill. Fleet Commander Yulthes and his crews died with honor, defending their beliefs to the very end." Ambassador Yilthara shifted uncomfortably in her seat. The human was speaking as if the 3rd Fleet had been the defeated party, not the attacking force. The human diplomat continued, now speaking in the clicking language of the Thrim. "We have carefully studied the remains of your ships and the records of your fallen warriors. We have learned much about your technology, your tactics, and your commitment to the order you call Galactic Peace." Admiral Kethvar felt his blood chill. The human was confirming his worst fears. They had not only defeated the 3rd Fleet, they had captured and analyzed everything. "We have also learned about your histories," the human continued, switching to a 4th alien language. "The Corvani Crystal Wars, the Thurn trade route conflicts, the systematic destruction of the Velen asteroid communes. Your methods have been remarkably consistent for over 1,000,000 years." The human's image smiled slightly, an expression that looked friendly but somehow felt threatening. "We understand that you view our expansion as a challenge to this order. We understand that you see cooperation with minor species as a threat to your authority. We understand that you expected us to follow the same pattern as every other species you have encountered. Denial, negotiation, and finally submission or destruction." High Counselor Varnath leaned forward in his shadowy alcove. This human was demonstrating knowledge that should have been impossible for their species to possess. "However," the human continued, "we believe there has been a fundamental misunderstanding about our nature and our intentions. We are not seeking to replace the hegemony's authority with our own. We are not attempting to build an empire that mirrors yours. We are simply trying to survive in a galaxy that has proven to be more dangerous than we initially realized." The human activated what appeared to be their own holographic display, showing detailed schematics of hegemony military technology. "Your 3rd Fleet was equipped with some remarkable innovations: the Zilonian plasma fold generators, the Corvan gravitational armor systems, the Thrim quantum communication networks. We have spent considerable time studying these technologies and understanding how they function." Ambassador Yilthara made a sound of distress. "Those technologies were closely guarded secrets, protected by multiple layers of security and encryption. We have also studied your strategic documents, your military protocols, and your historical records," the human continued. "We now understand how you maintain control over 1,000,000 worlds. We understand your methods of intimidation, your systems of tribute, your practices of collective punishment." The human paused again, and when they resumed speaking, their tone had grown more serious. "This knowledge has led us to a troubling conclusion. The galactic hegemony maintains peace through fear. You prevent wars by ensuring that any species considering conflict knows they will face complete annihilation. This system has worked for 1,000,000 years because no one has been able to challenge your military superiority." Admiral Kethvar realized where this was leading and felt a cold knot form in his stomach. "However," the human said, "our recent interaction has changed this equation. We have demonstrated that it is possible to defeat a hegemony fleet. We have proven that your technology can be captured and adapted. Most importantly, we have shown that your methods of intimidation do not work against a species that values survival above individual safety." The human diplomat activated another display, this one showing movement patterns throughout the galaxy. Red lines indicated the paths of ships, resources, and communications. "Since the destruction of your 3rd Fleet, we have detected increased military activity throughout hegemony space. Fleet movements, resource allocations, communication patterns, You are preparing for a larger conflict. You are considering whether to deploy more forces against us or to seek some form of accommodation. The accuracy of the human intelligence was staggering. HFY knew that everything they described was true. The hegemony was indeed preparing for either war or peace with the humans. We would like to propose a third option, the human continued. Coexistence. The word hung in the air like a physical presence. Coexistence was not a concept the hegemony understood. There were rulers and subjects, conquerors and conquered. There was no middle ground. We do not seek to destroy your civilization or replace your authority over the species that accept your rule, the human explained. We simply ask that you recognize our right to exist and expand within our own borders. We ask that you allow the minor species to choose their own paths, whether that leads to alliance with you, with us, or with neither. The human's expression grew more serious. In return, we offer to share certain technologies that we have developed. Medical advances that could extend the lifespans of your member species. Energy systems that could power your civilization more efficiently. Communication methods that could improve coordination across your empire. Commander Zektor spoke for the first time during the transmission. They are offering us tribute. They think they can buy us off with technology. But High Counselor Varnath raised a hand for silence. Let them finish. The human diplomat seemed to sense the council's reaction, because their next words addressed it directly. We understand that this proposal may seem impossible to accept. Your authority has never been challenged successfully before. Agreeing to coexistence might appear to show weakness to your subject species. The human activated a final display, and what appeared on it made every member of the council freeze in terror. The hologram showed a three-dimensional map of hegemony space. 12 star systems were highlighted in red, the core worlds of the 12 most powerful species in the council. Moving toward each of these systems was a massive object, too large to be a ship. Therefore, the human continued, we are providing a demonstration of our commitment to this proposal. Long-range sensors will detect massive objects approaching your core worlds. These are not warships. They are asteroids, each one accelerated to approximately 90% of light speed. The council erupted in panicked voices, but the human continued speaking calmly. Each asteroid is large enough to sterilize the surface of a planet. Each one is targeted at the homeworld of a council member species. They are scheduled to arrive simultaneously in 72 hours, unless they receive a coded signal to alter course. Admiral HFY stared at the display in horror. The humans had positioned weapons of planetary destruction at every major hegemony world. They had done it quietly, efficiently, and without anyone noticing until it was too late to stop them. This is not a threat, the human diplomat said firmly. This is simply a demonstration of our capabilities. We want you to understand that we have the ability to end galactic civilization, if we choose to do so. We hope this will convince you that cooperation is preferable to continued conflict. The human smiled again, and this time the expression was definitely threatening. You have 72 hours to consider our proposal. We look forward to your response. The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. They had discovered that they were no longer the apex predators of the galaxy. They had learned that there was a species willing and able to destroy everything they had built. For the first time in a million years, the galactic hegemony faced a choice they had never had to make before: coexistence or mutual annihilation. The Hegemony Council chamber had never witnessed such chaos. For 71 hours and 37 minutes, representatives from 12 species had argued, threatened, pleaded, and schemed. The massive holographic display showed the approaching asteroids as red dots of death moving toward their homeworlds, at nearly the speed of light. High Counselor Varnath had not moved from his shadowy alcove during the entire debate. The ancient being simply watched as the council tore itself apart, species blaming each other for the disaster that threatened them all. This is Admiral HFY's fault. Ambassador Yilthara clicked furiously. He assured us the humans were primitive. He said the Third Fleet would crush them easily. The fault belongs to all of us, rumbled Commander Zektor. We allowed our arrogance to blind us to the truth about these creatures. Admiral HFY stood at the tactical display, studying the approaching weapons with the eye of a military professional. The asteroids were spread across dozens of star systems, each one following a precisely calculated path that would bring it to its target at the exact same moment. The coordination required for such an operation was beyond anything the hegemony had ever attempted. "Sir," his aide reported quietly, "our scientists have finished their analysis. Even if we launched every ship in the fleet immediately, we could not intercept more than 3 of the asteroids. The rest would complete their missions." Kethvar nodded grimly. He had reached the same conclusion hours ago. The humans had positioned their weapons too well, planned too carefully. There was no military solution to this threat. "What about negotiation?" suggested the Velen representative. "Perhaps we can offer them something they want more than our destruction. What could we possibly offer them that they have not already taken?" Kethvar replied bitterly. "They have our technology, our intelligence, our military secrets. They know our weaknesses better than we know them ourselves." Fleet Commander Yuldris, the replacement for the lost Yulthes, activated her communication console. "I have been monitoring human transmissions throughout their space. They are not behaving like a species preparing for mutual destruction. Their civilian populations are continuing normal activities. Their military forces remain in defensive positions. They appear confident that we will accept their proposal." High Counselor Varnath finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of countless centuries. "They are confident because they understand us better than we understand ourselves. They know that we are not prepared to sacrifice 12 billion lives for the sake of pride." The chamber fell silent. Every species represented at the table had histories stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. Their homeworlds contained the accumulated culture, knowledge, and population of entire civilizations. The humans were asking them to choose between their authority and their very existence. "There is another consideration," Ambassador Yilthara said quietly. "Our vassal species have been monitoring these events. Word has spread throughout the galaxy that the mighty hegemony has been checkmated by a species barely 2 centuries old. If we surrender now, how many other worlds will decide they no longer need to fear us?" It was the question they had all been avoiding. The hegemony's power did not rest solely on military force. It rested on the belief that military force was unstoppable. The humans had shattered that belief forever. Admiral Kethavar pulled up intelligence reports from across hegemony space. 17 vassal species have reduced their tribute payments in the past month. 8 have stopped responding to our communications entirely. The minor species are already beginning to rebel. "Then we are trapped," Commander Zektor observed. "If we fight the humans, they destroy our homeworlds. If we surrender to them, our empire collapses anyway." High Counselor Varnath's laugh was like the sound of dying stars. "You still do not understand what the humans have accomplished. They have not trapped us. They have liberated us." The council stared at him in confusion. "For 1,000,000 years we have maintained order through fear," Varnath continued. "We have crushed any species that showed independence, destroyed any civilization that grew too powerful, eliminated any threat to our authority. We have spent countless resources and endless time enforcing a system that benefits no one except ourselves." He gestured toward the display showing the approaching asteroids. "The humans have shown us that this system has a fundamental weakness. It only works against species that fear death more than they value freedom. It fails completely against a species willing to accept mutual destruction rather than submission." Ambassador Yilthara's compound eyes glittered with understanding. "You are suggesting that other species will follow the human example." "I am stating with certainty that they will," Varnath replied. "The humans have provided a blueprint for defeating us. Find our weaknesses, study our methods, prepare for sacrifice, and turn our own power against us. Within a century, a dozen species will have the capability to threaten our core worlds. Within a millennium, we will face constant rebellion." The implications settled over the council like a suffocating blanket. The age of easy dominance was ending whether they accepted the human proposal or not. "So what do you recommend?" Admiral Kethvar asked. "I recommend that we accept reality," Varnath said simply. "The humans are offering us a choice between destruction and transformation. We can cling to our old ways and watch our civilization burn, or we can adapt to a galaxy where we are no longer the supreme power." Fleet Commander Yuldris activated her console again. "Sir, we have 23 minutes before the asteroids reach their targets. We need to make a decision." High Counselor Varnath rose from his alcove for the first time in living memory. The ancient being's form shimmered as it moved to the center of the chamber. "I call for a vote," he announced. "All in favor of accepting the human proposal for coexistence." One by one, the representatives raised their hands, tentacles or other appendages in acknowledgement. Some voted with resignation, others with fear, but all of them voted for survival. The motion passes unanimously, Varneth declared. Admiral Kethvar, send the surrender signal to the humans immediately. Kethvar activated the emergency communication system and transmitted the codes the humans had provided. Across the galaxy, massive asteroids received new instructions and began altering their courses away from populated worlds. It is done, Kethvar announced. The immediate threat has been resolved. But everyone in the chamber knew that nothing had really been resolved. The galactic hegemony had just acknowledged that it could be defeated, that it was not invincible, that there were limits to its power. That knowledge would spread throughout the galaxy like a virus, infecting every species that had submitted to alien rule. High Counselor Varneth returned to his alcove, his form already beginning to fade back into the shadows. The humans told us they wanted coexistence, he said quietly. What they have actually given us is evolution. We must learn to survive in a galaxy where fear is no longer an effective weapon, where other species have the power to destroy us, where cooperation may be more valuable than conquest. He paused, then added with something that might have been admiration, they have forced us to become better than we were. Whether we survive this transformation will depend on how quickly we can adapt to being just another species in a galaxy full of potential equals. The council dispersed, each representative returning to their homeworld to explain how the masters of the galaxy had become its students. The age of the hegemony's absolute rule was over. In the depths of human space, Ambassador Sarah Chen received confirmation that the asteroids had changed course. She smiled as she composed her next message to the galactic hegemony, the first in what would become regular diplomatic communications between equals. The humans had not conquered the galaxy. They had done something far more dangerous. They had taught it that conquest was not inevitable, that there were alternatives to submission or destruction, and that even the mightiest empire could be brought low by a species that refused to accept the natural order. No one had returned from battling the humans because the humans had made sure that no one would ever need to battle them again. They had won the ultimate victory, not through destruction but through making war itself too costly for anyone to contemplate. The galaxy would never be the same.